So I got this in under the voting radar. This is I'm actually reviewing this film while Oscar voting is going on. So great timing for Apple. Obviously, they planned to drop the film on Apple Plus to make the film even that much more accessible to voters right when they were doing their voting. Really solid strategy for this film. um, I was looking at the cast and stuff online on IMDb. This film has been nominated already for 288 awards. I feel really bad about this review. So, this is Killers of the Flower Moon. Um, it's written and direct. Well, it's not written. This is actually written by Martin Scorsese. I'm sorry. It's written by Eric Roth and Martin Scorsese, and directed by Martin Scorsese. It does have audio description by the wonderful Laura Post. Um, and it stars, sadly, Leonardo DiCaprio, not Lily Gladstone. Lily Gladstone would be second, Robert De Niro third, uh, and then kind of a giant gap before you get to any other name. There's just sort of like an ensemble around them that pops in and out. Jesse Plemons comes into this. He does. John Lithgow, Brendan Fraser, recognizable names. Although I'm going to address something because it was brought. It wasn't my thought. It was brought to my attention when the SAG nominations were announced. It's very interesting what this film has to say about the basically the whites decimating the Osage Nation, and also the SAG Ensemble nomination is a predominantly white cast that was nominated under SAG Ensemble for Killers of the Flower Moon. Almost all of the Native American actors were left off of the ensemble, which is incredibly problematic for a film, especially considering what the film is about. Um, it's like SAG watched the film and got the complete wrong idea from this, and they were like, "Yeah, we did a great job, didn't we?" Like we wiped them out. We went in there and got that on. That was not the takeaway of this film, sir. You were supposed to be honoring. It's funny because I'm watching um, Faraway Downs also on Hulu, which begins every episode with that um, I don't even know what to call it. There's like a title card at the beginning that is about honoring the Aboriginal tribes, past, present, and future, and emerging, and that there may be artifacts by Aboriginal people and stuff throughout the film. I didn't write it down so that I could quote it for you, but there's this thing where it tries to, Baz Luhrmann went out of his way to try to make sure that he has this attached to the project because he understands the weight of it. I think Scorsese talks a lot about how he understands the weight of this project, and I think the actors did too. I don't know what happened in translation. That SAG Ensemble nomination that it has is problematic. So I want to get we're gonna get that off the chest right away, especially now that I've seen the film and I can actually comment on it. Um, and it's actually problematic in another way because it's one of the reasons why I apologize, because I'm not going to be on board with this. I kind of disagree with the approach Martin Scorsese had here. I haven't read the book, however, I have seen other reviews from people who have read the book that say that he's not following the book anyway, that this is his own, he's making his own choices, and the book follows kind of details differently, like lays things out differently. So he has decided in his infinite wisdom to make Leonardo DiCaprio the lead of this film. I think that was the wrong choice to make, especially because I don't think he did a good enough job selling me on him being conflicted between being a hero and a villain. I didn't feel like, man, this dude got a raw deal. They do kind of play him like he's a little dumb, and De Niro's performance could have been perhaps even a little more so nefarious. It needed to almost be a little bit more so that he felt even more manipulative, because it didn't work for me here. What DiCaprio is doing, um, there are choices that he makes where he just becomes an awful protagonist for the film. I think telling the story from essentially from Ernest's perspective is the wrong way to go. I think we definitely should have gone the route of telling it from the Osage people's perspective of people moving in on their land, which still could have given you really dynamic performances from DiCaprio and De Niro. There's no reason that could have been limited. Scorsese is a fantastic director. He's worked with these actors many times before. He knows how to direct the hell out of them, and they give two incredible performances. But ultimately, when you look at the structure of the film and the way that it works, it's hard to believe that there isn't a better way to tell this story. I did think the film was long at 3.5 hours, whereas I didn't think Oppenheimer was long at 3. I felt like Nolan used his time really well. There are other films this year that have been pushing that runtime, that have been getting longer and longer, and some of them do use their runtimes rather well. Here, it has sort of rises and falls. And I think a lot of that has to do with just continuing to set the mood. And when you have the villain as your lead, the mood is different. But when you have a sympathetic character like Lily Gladstone's Molly as your lead character, then you don't need so much to play with that, because then the mystery that she's trying to uncover, which constantly feels like it's being trampled by DiCaprio's storyline, is allowed to be the center of the film. I don't want to say like a detective story for Molly, but as she's the one who's watching her sisters get killed off one by one. She's watching her people be murdered. It's her experience. It's weird that we're not living it through her. It's very weird that she is not the central character of this film. I don't know really what to say here, because there really isn't a defense for the direction. But then again, everybody seems to love this film. Scorsese was given a ton of money by Apple to deliver this film, and I don't think Apple was going to step in and say, no, we have to think about the box office marketability here, so DiCaprio must be the lead of this film because we have to be able to sell tickets. I think the fact that they could have easily gone with a breakout star here, which is what's happening anyway with Lily Gladstone, and the DiCaprio could have been second, playing her husband, somebody who's always there, somebody who's always lurking around the corner, somebody who she doesn't know whether or not she can trust. He's got a nice wink and a smile, but is he really, what is he really doing to her? And I think that would have added to the mystery a lot more and allowed Molly just to stand out. It feels like she's suffocating in this performance. I didn't even like it that much. I think Lily Gladstone's work here is good. If I hadn't bothered to watch An Unknown Country, I wouldn't know what kind of performer she was. But even though that film lacked audio description, at least I got a hint of who she is as an actress, so I know she's acting here. This isn't just like a natural performance for her, because she does play it kind of flat and silent and quiet, soft-spoken. It's not the kind of film that Academy voters usually gravitate towards. And I think her best moments are when she's not that. The few moments when she does just kind of grieve and scream out in pain, and more tragedy befalls her. There's a reason why Lily Gladstone is the one that's winning all of the awards, and it's not because Killers of the Flower Moon is the greatest movie of the year. It's because people are recognizing what is the most interesting thing about this film, who is the most interesting character in this film, what is the most interesting narrative in this film, and is her character, is not DiCaprio's. Um, I think he does a great job. I would have rather seen Scorsese do something interesting and actually embrace a female lead, which is something that's very atypical of what he does. He doesn't have a lot of female leads in his films, and embrace the idea that he's telling it from the perspective of the Osage people instead of from the perspective of the people decimating the Osage people. Because then what we have is a takeaway that the white cast is what needs recognition at the SAG Awards, and I guess Lily Gladstone. You know, I was really surprised to see that there was a supporting actress that was recognized by BAFTA on the shortlist, Kara, who plays the sister Anna in this film. And thank you for doing that, because it at least pulls some of the focus back to what it should be. It's so weird to watch a film about a people being decimated being told from the perspective of the people doing the decimating. And then when you realize you've done such a good job telling that perspective, that the only takeaway from this performance is Lily Gladstone, and there are no other characters. We don't know the names of most of the actresses that are playing her sisters, that are playing any other Osage people. I think there's something wrong with that. It just rubs me the wrong way. So is there a film here? Absolutely, there's a film here. Is there a great story? Fuck yes, there's a great story to tell here. Was it the right perspective? I don't think so. Um, no, people are probably like, "What is he talking about?" I love this movie. I'm fine. Love the film. I don't know. Scorsese for me is he's mostly a filmmaker that I rally around. I think The Aviator is probably the only film of his where I just would prefer to never watch it again. I've seen it twice. I really tried. I tried to every once in a while when I watch a film the first time, it doesn't work for me. And then everybody just keeps telling me, "Oh my God, it's so great. You have to see it again." I did watch The Aviator again a second time. I did it while I was sighted too. Still didn't do anything for me. So that's the only time prior to Killers where I've ever had like I don't know, Martin. I don't know what's going on here. I liked Silence. I really liked Silence. I thought Silence was good. I thought Andrew Garfield was great. I don't know why that film didn't get more Oscar attention when the year it came out. So, but here I can't ignore it. The score is really good. It's definitely one of the more memorable scores of the year. I don't know that it's my favorite score of the year, but it is memorable. And worth discussing. I actually did like the ending. I liked what he did. A lot of people say it's like a referendum on podcasts. I'm just like, I guess. I don't know, but I didn't feel that. But it's like a radio. It's a radio show thing, and I got it. I mean, I understood what he was doing, but it just felt more like a great way to represent the time period. We're in like the 1920s. And what were they doing back then? There wasn't television. Radio was really big, and this is exactly how they did radio shows. So I has he openly just said that this is podcasting? Like this is his, because I wouldn't have gotten that from what he was doing. I just thought it was a great way to use the time period. And not rely so much on that old cinematic voice, like how we used to. There's also a time period where we would sometimes have newsreels before a film. People would show up and they'd be like, "Back in the war, we got them." Let's hear that voice. I don't know who did that voice, but it's always that voice. And whenever it's in a movie, somebody does that voice for it. I wasn't obviously around in the 1920s to hear the real voice, but man, we've been trying to recreate that voice in every cinematic experience ever since. So, um, yeah, I think DiCaprio's performance here is uh, really good. Is it a career best for him? I don't know. It's tough. Dude has like 8 career best performances. It's sort of like, is this Scorsese's best film? If for people who really love Scorsese, obviously my answer would be no. But when you talk about Scorsese's best film, how do you even do that? You know, because it's really which film are you most passionate about at this point? Because he's definitely made that case for himself on a couple of films, and then you can have people who are going to make a case maybe for one of the less obvious choices, maybe like Casino. Maybe somebody thinks that's his best film, um, or The Irishman. I don't know, but he has so many uh, just stunning works, and DiCaprio's a little like that too. Is this my favorite DiCaprio performance? Probably not. Is it a great one? Sure, yeah. He completely lost himself in the role. He's playing, his accent is remarkable. He never fades out of it. Um, he plays a little slow here, which I think is interesting. Like he's not the brightest of the bunch, which they needed to play up a little bit more so that he could be sympathetic. I hate to say it, he needed to be. This character needed to be a little bit more dumb, in order for for us to kind of feel the sympathy we need to feel for him at any point in the film. Um, because he makes choices where you're positive that you know he knows he's not supposed to be doing this. Um, and you can say that uh, he's making it at the behest of De Niro's character, his uncle that also likes to be called King, which is equally hilarious and claims to be a friend of the Osage people and everything like that, when he's pretty obviously not. And De Niro has compared his character to Trump largely because he doesn't like Trump. I didn't really feel that so much from his performance. I think he needed to be a little bit more um, grandstanding in order for that to happen. There needed to be a little bit more. De Niro's performance is a little bit muted for him to be able to compare it to that. He doesn't quite give off that. Um, I like to I like to stand and hear myself talk for long periods of time vibe. But I even thought De Niro's performance was great, especially considering De Niro has such a unique voice that is so hard for him to get rid of. And I only heard it like maybe like 3% of his performance. There are a couple times that he would say a word and I'd be like, De Niro. you know? He has such a recognizable accent. And him and Pacino have developed these accents and these voices that are like uniquely theirs. And it's so hard for them to hide anymore. And I was so impressed that De Niro got really into the Southern accent. I was like, damn. And he's not loud, and De Niro is frequently boisterous. So there's something to be said for making those choices, but I just think it's funny that he made the comparison because whether I agree with him on anything else or not, I just didn't see what he sees in the comparison before. I just think he just doesn't like Trump. But and was just trying to throw shade. But it's a great performance on so many other levels because it's great to see De Niro be quiet, and have those moments too, and be able to be intensely um, dangerous while also being quiet. There's a performance of his that I really love in a film that I don't think anybody else loves, but I think he's great in it. And we just kind of fly over it all the time. But there's a film called Everybody's Fine, where he's trying to like reunite with his kids, that I thought he did a fantastic job in, and it was because it didn't feel like a typical De Niro performance. It just kind of felt like he was doing his thing. So, um, yeah, it's great. Brendan Fraser in the little bit that he does here is really interesting. You think about the guy who just won the Oscar for The Whale, and I think this was such a smart decision for him to continue to develop as a character. Jesse Plemons doesn't really do anything. I'm being just totally being honest. Uh, he just kind of feels like Jesse Plemons. It doesn't even feel like he's acting. It just feels like Jesse Plemons shows up. Like, hey guys, I'm Jesse Plemons. I'm here to investigate crime for the FBI. I was like, okay, they didn't really give you much to do at all. You just, he probably went up to Martin and was like, hey Marty, what would you like my character to be? And he's like, I don't know, dude. I just want it to be you. He's like, okay, great. So like me, no, I want just be you. Just you. That's all. That's all I need from you. Okay, I'll do that. And he just went and did that. John Lithgow is a pretty typical John Lithgow performance. He's playing a prosecutor. It immediately reminded me of how he was just on Perry Mason, So yeah, this is a great. It's a performance he's done. So nothing too special there. The other Osage people that come in and out, again, the film is kind of a mess and doesn't really focus on anybody but Molly, which is kind of what I want to change. I kind of wish it would. At the very beginning, it montages a whole bunch of Osage people, and it montages a lot of deaths together, and it shows some of them like meeting in meetings, but it doesn't really have really established supporting characters. Even somebody like Anna, even Kara, who got nominated for playing Anna, that's a really small performance. I mean, we have really just tried to shift. The amount of screen time that we needed to give to DiCaprio for him to, suck the life out of any other Native American actor in this film is just, it's troubling. It won't be in my top 10 for the year. I think there's a craft here. I do. I think there's a story that's still worth watching. So I'm not going to say please don't watch it just because I disagree with the perspective from which Scorsese chose to tell the story. I just think there was a better way to do this. So audio description wise, I thought Laura's narration was never intrusive. And sometimes I did sort of question some of the choices in terms of what was being shown versus what we saw. There's one hilarious scene that I did laugh, and I kind of even said it out loud, unintentionally hilarious, where I have to mention, and I'm going to try to do this without spoilers. If you've still made it this far, I love you. But there's a scene where one of the Native Americans who has died in the film, one of the Osage people, they're sawing off the top of their head, and I guess to see what's inside. I guess this is how we did autopsies back in the day, or they're prepping it for a funeral. I don't know. One of the things, but the takeaway was somebody turned to Molly and said, "It's okay, she's dead now. She's in a better." I was like, "She's dead. She's in a better place." I was like, "I hope so." You just got on the top of her. Like, what a weird time for that dialogue. Like, it doesn't really even need to be said. It's just, I laughed unintentionally in a scene that I'm not supposed to laugh in, because I was like, well, I certainly hope she is, because if not, we really need to do a better job of teaching people how to check for pulse. Yeah, so I just really that that got me. The timing of the line was just, I don't know if I was supposed to laugh at the idiocy of it, but I was just, thanks for pointing out that she's dead. I was having a really hard time figuring that out. Anyway, but some of the stuff with the audio description I questioned. There's like a body that's found, and we're sort of shown, sort of told like it's a little bloody, and you can see a little, like something like a hand is bloody or something. There's like some references, right? But not like a gratuitous um, examination of the body. And then later on, uh, the funeral director is mentioning that that very body that we just uncovered doesn't have a face. I'm like, well, did we see that the first time around, or is that just a statement that he's making? So there are times like that where I was like, did Martin Scorsese block us from gore, or did the audio description block us from gore? It's weird, because just this is how you test whether or not I'm really blind, because I really just don't know what the answer to the question here is. Um, could have been perfect audio description that Scorsese blocked us from, or it could be just a intentionally tasteful audio description, which is not always the route to go. Sometimes things are put in there to shock you, shock value you, and get you like, oh my God, this is the kind of shit that they're doing, you know? And yeah, I mean, that's sort of one of those moments. And I mean, if you're going to saw off somebody's head at the top of somebody's head, like, that's in another scene. What are we doing? You know? So, um, yeah, I just I think the audio description is really solid. I just, you know, a couple questions, just some questions like that. Um, that just didn't work for me. Anyway, it's a little long, and I wish it had been told from a different perspective. But damn, the acting here is really good. I actually think there could have been more from Gladstone. She's, while I totally respect what it is that Scorsese has asked her to do, and she has some amazing moments here, I can't even begin to imagine what she could have done had this film been left in her care. Had Scorsese given her um, more of a focus, more of a dynamic performance, because she's now carrying the weight of the film on her shoulders. I think that really could have helped the film, instead of following it from the wrong perspective. All that in consideration, um, this is this is tough, because I hate when I always disagree with a film. I hate when I end up disagreeing. Not always. When I end up disagreeing with a film that like critics are like, oh my God, this is amazing, and like Letterbox is like going nuts, and I'm like, is it possible that we could have maybe told this from somebody from Lily's perspective? The film that I got was fine, but the film that it could have been was great. Could have been great. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying this is a bad film. I'm saying I just see a better film down the line. I see the film that could have been, and that film I think I would have loved, uh, but this film not so much. I'm giving Killers of the Flower Moon a B plus, largely elevated by some fantastic performances, from the actors who are getting all the praise in the world. So, and that's it. Yeah, it's not going to be in my top 10, guys. It's not even going to be an honorable mention for me. So, not that anyone cares, but that's where that is. Um, it's better than The Aviator. The Aviator is still my least favorite Martin Scorsese film, in case anybody was wondering. Uh, yeah, so I didn't totally hate it. It did seem like I was, but I did have a lot of thoughts. I don't even know how long this review is. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Um, if you want to continue to hear me talk about audio description, which I hope you do, because we need more of it on everything. Apple is really good about putting audio description, which is why they won my Best Streamer of 2023 award. An award I'm sure they've got posted in their office. Um, and they're really good about accurately putting it on all of their Apple Plus content. So uh, it's a great streaming service to recommend to blind and visually impaired people bang for your buck. Um, you can also follow me on X Threads or Instagram at Mac the Movie Guy. You can go to the Audio Description Project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description, where you can watch it. And you can go to theadna.org, and it'll let you know more about Laura Post, what else she's done as a narrator. That's it. I will watch something else and see you guys on the other side.